My name is Ellen, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to play Bad Habits by Ed Sheeran on the guitar. So stay tuned if this is something that you'd like to learn. And guys, before we jump into it, I just want to give a huge shout out to my patrons over on my Patreon page for voting for this song as this month's patron picks. If you want a little bit of voting power on the song tutorials that you see here on my channel, make sure to check out my Patreon page linked below. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and classify this song as a beginner/intermediate song just because there is a bar chord as well as a solo riff, which is optional, but beyond that it is pretty beginner friendly. So let's go ahead and jump into the overview. To play this song in the original key, go ahead and make sure your guitar is in standard tuning, and we will not need a capo to play this in the same key as Ed Sheeran. On top of that, we've got 5 chords to learn, and only one of them has to be played as a bar chord, which is our B minor chord, and I'll go through all those chords in a second. I also have 2 main strumming patterns to show you, as well as that cool solo riff that you hear throughout the song. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the tutorial. Alright guys, so I've zoomed in a little bit so we can take a closer look at these chords. Like I said, you only need to know 5 for the whole song, and the first is going to be our B minor chord, which is our bar chord, and that looks like this and sounds like this. After that, we have our D major 7 chord, which looks like this and sounds like this. And just so you know, another alternate fingering for this can be just barring the top 3 strings with your first finger like this. So it'll sound the same. And this is actually how I will be playing it throughout this tutorial. Next we have our G chord, which looks like this and sounds like this. After that, we've got A, which looks like this and sounds like this. And then the last chord you need to know for this song is our E minor 7, which looks like this and sounds like this. And those are the 5 chords you need to know to play this song. Alright guys, so once you have those chords memorized, make sure to take some time to practice transitioning between them. The great thing about this song is that the order of the chords is basically the same throughout the whole song, so just make sure that you can transition between them pretty smoothly because it does go a little bit quickly. If that's something that you need help with, I do have a video right here that breaks down how to practice chord transitions and things like that, so make sure to check that out if that's something you need help with. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the strumming patterns that I'd like to show you for this song. Familiar with any of my other tutorials, you'll know that I always start out with kind of a practice pattern, which is just one single down strum on the beat for every chord change. This is a great way to kind of get used to the song, practice those transitions, as well as get used to singing and playing at the same time. So let me go ahead and just show you an example. Go ahead and put your B minor chord down since that's the first chord in the song, and all you want to do is strum down once. Then you go to your next chord, D major 7, then we have G, and then we have A. Alright, so if you want to play this kind of in the rhythm of the song, there is a little bit of special counting that you have to get used to because all the other strumming patterns follows this same counting pattern, okay? So let me just go ahead and show you with our B minor chord on. We've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, then D major 7, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then for G, we're gonna have to hold this kind of for 2 measures. So we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, again, and 2 and A and 4 and. So you you can kind of see there with the counting, we're going to split that last measure between the G chord and the A chord, kind of right in the middle. Again, like I said, this is important to kind of understand this now with the single down strum so that the other strumming patterns are a little bit easier. So let's go ahead and put this a little bit more in rhythm, and I'll put some singing with it just so you can kind of hear where all of these chord transitions are going to be, and make sure to kind of take some time to look at what word you're singing whenever you're doing those chord transitions. It's really going to help with people who are struggling with singing and playing at the same time. Every time you come around, you know I can't say no. Again, A. Every time the sun goes down, I let you take control. G, A. Alright, so even with this really simple strumming pattern, there's a lot of stuff that we can pick up on with the song, especially that rhythm where it goes from G to A. We're going to be doing that transition a little bit quicker than the rest, so just little things like that are good to pick up on when you're kind of breaking the song down and stripping it down to its easiest form. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the strumming patterns that I do actually like to use in my cover playthrough version. The first strumming pattern, as you can see, is just 8 down strums, and it's going to sound a little something like this. Now this strumming pattern is pretty straightforward. What we're going to do is play each chord one time with this measure, so we're going to play each chord with 8 down strums. So let's go ahead and go through an example. With my B minor chord on, I've got down, 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 down. All right, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, then you go to your next chord, D major 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we've got G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then like I said, with our practice pattern, it's really important that you understand the rhythm breakdown here. So with our G to our A chord for this last measure, we're actually going to split this strumming pattern kind of in half, not really in half, but like kind of in the middle. And where you see this little vertical line is where I want you to change those chords. So for the first 3 down strums, we're going to do G, 1, 2, 3. Then you switch to your A chord and finish out the strumming pattern. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right? So it'll make sense if we put it all together. Again, with our B minor chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. D major 7. 5, 6, 7, 8. G, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so hopefully you got that transition. It's really quick there in the middle of the strumming pattern, but as long as you get that kind of rhythm down, that's probably like 90% of this entire song, so it's good if you can get that down. Now a few things that you can do to enhance this strumming pattern to make it sound a little bit better. The first thing is we're going to accent certain beats. So as you can see, we've got 8 down strums, plain old Jane old here, and what I want you to do is accent the 1st, the 4th, and the 7th down strum, all right? So now it's going to sound a little more something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right? And all I'm doing there to accent those is I'm just doing a little bit extra force whenever I'm strumming those, just giving it a little bit of more of a push instead of just like relaxed strumming, okay? And then the second thing you can do to kind of dress this up and it makes it sound really cool is we're going to add a palm mute. So what I'm doing there is I'm just taking the side of my playing hand with my pick in it and I'm just gently laying it on my strings. You want to get it kind of close to the bridge here. That's going to give you the best sound, the most like robust open sound. And what you want to do is just kind of lay your palm there as you're strumming. So you can hear it's kind of dampening the sound, kind of muting the strings a little bit, and we want that because it'll give it more of a rhythmic feel to the song. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so you can see there with the palm mute, I am still doing those accented beats as well. So let me go ahead and speed this up a little bit and show you what it sounds like within the song. I like to use this strumming pattern for the verses. So let me go ahead and just start there and show you how that sounds. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can kind of see there, it gives that really like driving kind of factor to the song. I think it sounds pretty good with this song. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the second strumming pattern that I want to show you that I like to use for the choruses. Alright guys, now for the choruses, the actual chord progression is going to be relatively the same. We're going to the same chords in the same order. And again, you're going to want to know when to transition between that G and that A because it does go a little faster. But first let me go ahead and show you these strumming patterns. So strumming pattern 2 is going to be down, mute, down, up, and it's going to sound a little something like this. Alright, and as with strumming pattern 1, we're going to want to play this pattern through one time for each chord. Until we get to that G and A chord, it's going to be a little different. But first of all, let's go ahead and practice the rhythm together. So with our B minor chord on, it's going to go down, mute, and all I'm doing there is I'm taking the side of my hand, just slapping the strings, stopping them from, ringing. Okay, so we've got down, mute, down, up, down, up. And that's the whole pattern. So let me go ahead and put that in rhythm. Down, mute, down, up, down, mute, down, up, down, up. All right? And like I said, we're going to do that one time through for each chord. So we've got B minor, D major 7, G, again, when we go from G to A here, it's going to kind of split this pattern kind of down the middle a little bit. So what I want you to do is play G for the first part, which is down, mute. Then we're going to switch to our A chord and finish out the pattern, which is the down, up part, all right? So with our G chord, we've got down, mute, and then A, down, up, all right? Again, that last measure is G, so the pattern's not changing at all, we're just changing our chords in the middle. So let me go ahead and play that through one time without stopping with all of the chord transitions in there. So starting on our B minor chord, we've got down, mute, down, up, D major 7, G one time through, G, mute, A, up, down, up. And like I said, that is the pattern that I like to use for the choruses of the song. At that point, it kind of gets a little bit louder and more intense, and I think that this strumming pattern really fits well with that part of the song. So let me go ahead and speed it up again a little bit and show you what that sounds like with the chorus. My bad habits lead to late nights and conversations with a stranger I've never known. Serving this will be the last, but it probably won't. I got nothing left to lose or use, or do our bad habits lead to you? Alright, and as you can see, sometimes the chords change in the chorus, so you saw that E minor 7 thrown in there. So just be wary of that when you're doing the playthrough as well. But most of the song does go from B minor to D major 7 to G to A. So if you can do those transitions, you're like 80% of the way there already. But with that being said, those are the two strumming patterns that I like to use for this song. And like I said, I'll go back and forth between strumming pattern 1 for the verses and strumming pattern 2 for the choruses. Of course, if you plan on doing a cover, do whatever you want. I think that these are just suggestions, so whatever strumming patterns you're naturally feeling, I would say to go with those. It'll be a lot easier to sing to if you can just do the strumming pattern that you prefer. But those are my suggestions. So now let's go ahead and zoom in, and I will show you how to play that little solo riff that you hear throughout the song. It's true, my bad habits lead to Alright guys, so I've zoomed in again so we can take a closer look at this solo riff that you hear throughout the song. This whole thing is optional, but it does kind of add to the song if you want to try to put that in there. So basically, I'm going to go ahead and put the tab on screen for you so you can see what it looks like, and I'll just kind of explain how we're going to play through this. So with our B minor chord on, so our chord shape is on, this is the first chord in the song, and if you keep your hand here in this chord shape, you can actually play through the first part of this tab. So what we're going to do is play our B string twice, then our G, back to B, and then high E. All right, so as long as you have your B minor chord shape down, this should just be a matter of looking at which strings you're picking. B, B, G, B, E, all right? Now, if you don't like holding that bar chord shape down, what you could do is just put your fingers on the strings that we're going to be playing. So this is another kind of fingering that you can do. As you can see, I'm just putting my ring finger on the 4th fret of the G string, my middle finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and my first finger on the 2nd fret of the high E string. So if you wanted to do it that way, that is a little easier on the fingers. So again, we're just going to go B, B, G, B, so that's the first little part there. The next little part is gonna go along with our D major 7 chord. So again, if you wanna put that chord shape down, that'll make this picking a little bit easier because then you're just focusing on the right hand. And the strings are gonna be the same. So you're again going to pick the B string twice, then the G string, back to B, and then high E. All right? So we're halfway done. So again, with our B minor chord shape, then you go to your D major chord shape, D major 7, sorry about that. Okay, so from here, we're gonna go to our G chord. Now, when we're picking these strings, they are gonna be the same strings that we've been picking. So the easiest way I think to do this is just to play the open string. So what you're gonna do is play the open B string twice, then open G, back to open B. Then just take your first finger here and press down on the 2nd fret of the B string. All right, so it's open, 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 open 2. All right, and you'll do that twice. So the way I would suggest this is with this fingering, we've got so this repeats throughout the entire song as the strumming or the other chords are going on. Then you would repeat it. Again, like I said, that kind of plays in the background throughout the entire song, so you can put it in wherever you see fit for your cover. But that is how I would suggest playing that little solo riff. So with that being said, let's go ahead and go back and we can play through the whole song. It started under neon lights and then it all got dark. I only know how to go too far. Alright guys, so now that you have those chords memorized, you've practiced transitioning between them, you know the strumming patterns and that solo riff, it's your turn to have a little bit of fun. So make sure to join me right here to go through the whole song where I will do the playthrough and I'll have all the chords and lyrics and everything you need to know on screen in front of you, and we'll play through the whole song there. Of course, if that's a little bit too fast for you or you need a little extra help, you can always check out my Patreon page where I have little extras to help you learn a little bit better, one of which is a customizable backing track that you can interact with and turn things on and off, slow things down or speed things up, so that you can really tailor your practice session to what you need to focus on the most. I also have printable, downloadable guitar guides for all of the songs that you see on my channel, including this one, so make sure to check that out on my Patreon page as well. And if you still need a little extra help on top of that, you can always send me a video of you practicing and asking me your questions on what you need help with, and I will send you a video response with my advice on how to improve back. So again, all of that is available on my Patreon page, which is linked down below. below, so make sure to check that out. Speaking of which, I did just want to give a huge thank you and shout out to my existing patrons over on my Patreon page. I will have all of their names listed on screen right now. Thank you guys so much for supporting me and my channel and making videos just like this one possible. You guys are awesome and you rock. Alright guys, but that does conclude today's tutorial, so make sure to give me a thumbs up down below if you found this helpful, as well as subscribe to my channel, that way you never miss out on a new video. Here are my social media sites in case you'd like to follow me on any of those. That's just where I do fun things like behind the scenes looks at things coming up. I'll poll you guys on what you want to see next, and I also do a few giveaways on there each year, so make sure to check those out if you'd like to. So don't forget to check out the playthrough fast track version of this song where we can jam through the whole thing together. I hope to see you over there, and until next time, I think that concludes this video, so thanks for watching. Bye!